Hello, everybody, and welcome to Movies and Matthew Alive. I'm Matthew, all right. I'm your host, Matthew Hoffman, and this show is three of my favorite things, movies, movie fans, and today we have a special surprise. And speaking of surprises, we usually bring you guys all the Regal movie news and excitement, but today's episode is extra special, and you will be finding out why very, very soon. Trust me, you will like where I am going with this. Now, today, this show is literally off to the races because we are going to talk about the upcoming dark comedy Thoroughbreds, which is opening at Regal Cinemas on March 9th. And I gotta tell you guys, I just saw this film and OMG, I cannot wait to talk to you guys about it after you see it. The movie is just unreal and I know you guys are going to love it. I am so excited for today's show because many movie fans have been dying to see Thoroughbreds since it made a huge splash at the Sundance Film Festival. Now, if this is your first time hearing about it, I am so glad that I am the messenger and you are in luck because I came prepared with our patented Movies and Matthew Live 5 fun facts. So hold on to your popcorn because I'm gonna break things down real quick and then you're going to find out why today is so special. So, Movies and Matthew Live fun facts, number one for Thoroughbreds. Number one, Thoroughbreds is a dark comedy that has been described as Heathers meets American Psycho. And shout out to Winona Ryder and Christian Bale if you guys are watching right now. If you guys are a fan of either of those classics, you should already be excited about this one because Thoroughbreds is the story of two insanely wealthy Connecticut teenagers named Lily and Amanda who were childhood BFFs until, well, they weren't. Now, the two reconnect and quickly bond over Lily's new stepfather who's a total jerk. And one thing leads to another, and before you know it, they've hired a local dirtbag named Tim to take care of him for good. And by take care of him, I mean the opposite of take care of him. If you're picking up what I'm throwing down there. All right, number two, Thoroughbreds stars Anya Taylor-Joy as Lily. You guys will of course recognize Anya from starring as Casey in last year's M. Night Shyamalan thriller Split. Where are my Split fans at? And you guys will also be seeing her as Magic in the New Mutants later this year. Now, Amanda is played by Olivia Cooke, who starred in Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and will be starring as Artemis in a little film called Ready Player One. Paul Sparks, who you just saw in The Greatest Showman, plays Lily's twisted stepfather. And in his final role, the late Anton Yelchin, who played Chekhov in the new Star Trek Adventures, steals every scene he is in as Tim. He is just absolutely brilliant in this movie. Number three, Thoroughbreds is produced by the Oscar-winning duo of Nat Faxon and Jim Rash, who just happened to win an Academy Award for their screenplay, The Descendants, which starred an up-and-comer by the name of George Clooney. The pair also made and starred in the acclaimed film The Way, Way Back. And the reason why I'm telling you all of this is because it sets the table for the level of movie we are dealing with here in Thoroughbreds. Number four, Thoroughbreds made its debut at the 2017 Sundance Film Festival, where it immediately became the talk of Park City. One interesting detail is that it was originally released as Thoroughbred, but the acclaimed Focus Features, the company that acquired the film at Sundance, added an S to give it the title of Thoroughbreds, and the rest is history. And number five, last but certainly not least, Thoroughbreds is of course written and directed by newcomer Corey Finley, who is, wait for it, joining us in studio today. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Corey Finley. What's up? Get in here. How you doing? Thank you so much for being here and coming on this show.
Thank you for having me.
I told you off camera, and I will tell everybody watching now, I saw this movie. It's insane. It is so, so good. So it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Before we get into it, it must be really cool as a filmmaker to finally have your baby hit Regal Cinemas.
It's incredibly exciting. I'm a huge fan of brick and mortar theaters, of people actually coming together and seeing movies in a big group, seeing it with strangers, and I'm just super excited that we're getting that wide release.
Yeah, and your inspiration for this film, I'm a little curious as to where this came to you. Was there a specific catalyst, or were you like, I'm gonna write a movie about two girls who have no choice but to turn to murder?
I think it started as a play, actually.
Yeah.
So I come from kind of the playwriting world, and often my process is just finding two characters whose voices I find really compelling, who I really enjoy just writing dialogue for. And I discovered these two. I sort of put them in a room together, put them on a couch together, and sort of tried to almost feel as though I was listening to them telling me where the story wanted to go. And it went to some strange, dark places and some very funny places, and I always like that kind of spontaneous process.
Yeah, and it is important to note that it is a funny movie. I mean, it's very dark, but there's a lot of humor in it. I wonder, the two main characters, when you were auditioning for this, like when you found Anya and Olivia, were you like, these are my leads, or was it more of a chemistry test? Was it?
It was very much the former. I was a huge fan of both of their previous work, their other movies, and I just reached out to both of them essentially as a fan, saw if they were interested in the movie.
Did you text them? How did this reach out go? Like, was it through?
Eventually we texted.
Nice.
I think first it was through sort of agents and the whole
proper
process,
channels.
the proper channels.
Yeah.
But no, eventually we texted and then met in a room, and before we shot, we got a chance to all sit down in kind of a rehearsal space together and just really talk through each scene of the script, and, which can sometimes be a luxury with independent films.
Yeah.
And that was when I really started to realize that they had an amazing chemistry together and that we had something special on our hands.
And the two characters are kind of like yin and yang. I mean, you have one who feels everything, and then you have one character who feels absolutely nothing. I imagine for a writer that must have been a fun challenge for you, or a fun project, you know, to channel both of your...
It was very cool. I always love when characters are able to really challenge one another and sort of bring something out of one another.
Yeah.
And I also love when a writing process can feel a little bit like a form of free therapy. I think there was a lot of excavating my own darker
I gotta start writing a movie. Oh my gosh, save me so much money.
I highly recommend it.
Thank you, okay. I'm on it.
Exactly, but no, just sort of finding these two really distinct voices, these two really distinct worldviews, and really kind of prolonging the tension and the excitement of them butting heads.
Yeah, the pacing in this movie, as someone who watches movies for a living, it was so refreshing to see that this movie was paced so realistically. I felt like I was literally watching these characters in real life. I don't know if that was intentional or that was because of the tone, but would you mind speaking to that a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. It's I always think that silence is a very powerful tool, and you think of silence, I think, as something that happens between the dialogue scenes of a movie. You think of kind of the silent visual moments, but I think even within sort of conversation-heavy scenes, really letting the conversation unfold and letting the audience live in kind of the anxiety and the uncertainty between
I almost had
moments.
shingles. There's some scenes in this movie that I was like, what's going on? And I want to talk to you a little bit about that, because I told you off camera there were things that I was, surprised about, or I didn't see going, and there's twists and turns in this movie, and it will have you guys literally on the edge of your seat. As a director, it must be fun to watch people's reactions to some really cool plot things that happen in this film. Is that fun for you? And if so, what's your favorite?
It's very fun. It's very fun with this movie, particularly watching each individual audience member kind of decide what they're allowed to laugh at.
Yeah.
There are a lot of moments in the movie that walk that tightrope between funny and disturbing.
Yeah.
And it's always fun. You learn a lot about sort of particular geographical areas where you take the movie on kind of a tour, and just the people watching it by where they react to it as comedy and where they react to it as a thriller.
Yeah.
And one of the fun parts about the movie is that it's really both.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that you come from the world of theater, as we both do. We share that in common. And I wonder, this was a play, and then you turned it into a movie. Was that fun for you, or was that like a more intense process than you thought it would be? Because the live theater is obviously different than when people see this in Regal cinemas, and you shot this in 22 days.
We did, yes. Yeah. It was incredibly fun. It's one of the big differences is I feel like one of the great things about the theater and that attracts a lot of people to the theater is that it's such a communal endeavor, and that you kind of, as you go from the beginning of rehearsals to the moment the play opens, you have more and more people involved, so that when you open, you sort of have your whole technical group, all your actors, everyone is all together. The interesting, surprising thing with the film is that you're kind of thrown day one into everyone being there and all the lights and all the technical aspects, which can be a little bit overwhelming.
It's like Thanksgiving. All your friends come, all your family's here. You're like, wait a second.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's so many kind of unexpected collisions of different creative impulses, and then at the end of the process, it becomes very kind of lonely and solitary as you edit the movie, and it's really just a sort of a duo, the director and the editor, for many weeks. But then you have the premiere, which is sort of a even bigger and crazier event than a play premiere. Yeah. And so interesting rhythms, and there was a lot to get used to about that transition. Yeah. But I love the film process.
Yeah, it's an amazing movie, and we of course have to talk about Anton Yelchin is in this film, and he is perfect in this movie, and unfortunately this was his last movie, and before he passed away, and he's so good in it, and I wonder, as a filmmaker, what did he bring specifically? His talents are undescribable. What did he bring to this film, and what was it like working with him? If you can just talk us through that.
He brought so much. So he was a really multi-talented guy, obviously a great actor, and an actor with kind of a huge range of projects. But he was also a really excellent photographer, just a real kind of deep thinker about the movie, about the movies, kind of a scholar of film. And as soon as we started working together, he was just throwing all these different references at me, all these different sort of great performances he wanted to pull from, all these different sort of film tropes that he saw in the script. And he was really active even in things like costuming, choosing sort of how his character would dress himself and carry himself, and did a lot of improvisation on set too. So he had an incredibly active role in shaping that character. Wow. And his performance really, whenever he's on screen, he just kind of, I think you said earlier, steals every scene and sort of brings an energy to the movie.
He literally does, and he had me on the edge of my seat numerous times throughout this film. I had interviewed him many times, and what I loved about him, is he had no airs about him. He was just a lovely, normal, unaffected actor in a town of many, sometimes.
Many types.
So he was just so lovely. I'm glad to see that he really shines in this film. So.
Yeah, I was really glad to work with him.
Yeah, and you are so young. You have so much ahead of you. What is next for you?
A bunch of different things, none that I can speak on in too much detail.
I like this man a lot. I like him a lot, guys.
Be very political about it.
Yep. No, but no one's watching. Tell me.
I still love the theater. I want to keep working in the theater and doing plays. But right now, I've had such a wonderful experience with this film, and I'm excited to keep working in film and to keep kind of telling these stories that walk the line between multiple genres and that are very fun, and there's a real way in for audiences, but they're also kind of challenging and different.
Amazing. Well, congratulations to you. As you know, I'm such a fan of this movie, guys, and I cannot wait for you guys to see it. Thank you so much for being here. It's such a really fun and interesting film that will have you guys on the edge of your seats. So congrats again on Thoroughbreds. I know audiences, you guys are going to love it. If you loved our chat, be sure to leave a comment tagging your favorite partner in crime to check out this video. As you guys know, I love reading all of the comments, and I love giving shout outs to the Movies and Matthew audience, so definitely leave a comment. I just might give you and your partner in crime a special shout out on our next show. That is going to do it for us today. Corey, you are the best. Thank you for being here. I can't wait for everyone to see this movie. You guys can find me at Matthew Hoffman1 on Twitter and at MatthewHoffman.tv on Instagram. There may or may not be a selfie happening when you check this page out. If you're not following Regal on Instagram at Regal Movies, you are missing out. 'Tis the best account in the game, so get into it. Thank you guys for watching. And be sure to grab your tickets to see Thoroughbreds. It opens at Regal Cinemas on March 9th. And tickets are on sale now. I repeat, tickets are on sale now at regalcinemas.com or on the Regal app. We will see you guys next time.